Coming up on tonight's broadcast, an OSU student prepares for the Miss America pageant, hazing at a Florida university, and an update on Egypt's recent election. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Thursday night edition of the Beaver News. We are delighted to have you with us tonight. I'm Spencer Smallwood.
And I'm Kim Stowell. An OSU student has begun preparation for the Miss America contest that will take place in January. Caroline McGowan, a new media communications student and a member of Delta Gamma sorority, won Miss Oregon on July 2nd in Seaside, Oregon. The Daily Barometer reports McGowan is taking the year off of classes to prepare for the job of Miss America. McGowan is the official spokesperson for the American Red Cross and the official hostess of the state of Oregon as well. With little previous experience prior to the last year, McGowan states, quote, "Pageantry is a rigorous job interview. If you can rock a swimsuit and heels, argue politics, learn the art of performance, and on top of that, inspire community service for 90 years, there's no telling what will stop you," end quote. The Miss America contest will be held on January 14th in Las Vegas.
Ryan Katz, 14-game starter quarterback for Oregon State, has been granted his release by the university as he will transfer to a different school. Katz was the starting quarterback for all 12 games in the 2010 season and has started the first 2 games of this season before being replaced by redshirt freshman Sean Mannion. In an OSU Athletics press release, Katz said, quote, "After discussing this issue with my family, I've decided to seek other academic and athletic opportunities," end quote. Katz is on track to graduate from Oregon State in March with a degree in business finance. He will be eligible to play immediately on any non-Pac-12 conference school, so long as he does postgraduate studies at his next school. The transfer was Katz's idea because he wanted an opportunity to be a starting quarterback again, rather than watch from the sidelines in his last year. Coach Riley knew Katz wanted to leave and didn't try to intervene or to sway him to make a different decision. A well-documented quarterback controversy is what paved the road leading Katz's decision to transfer. Katz had been entrenched as the starter, but was taken out of the first game of the year against Sacramento State after halftime. In stepped redshirt freshman Sean Mannion, who at the time was considered the third-string quarterback. Mannion played the rest of the game, and the spot of starting quarterback was no longer a sure thing for Katz. By the end of the next week, it was clear that the coaches were set on Mannion, and Katz became the odd man out.
The OSU wrestling team will follow its first loss of the season with a showing at the Cliff Keen Invitational tomorrow. There will be 33 teams participating, including the 4 teams from the Pac-12. The Invitational will take place over 2 days, with the first and second rounds tomorrow and the semifinals and finals on Saturday, reports the Daily Barometer. Head coach Jim Zaleski explained that his goal for the weekend is, quote, "We want guys winning championships down there individually. The best thing you can do for your team is win the championship," end quote. The team morale is still high even after their loss to the University of Missouri last Friday. This event is more focused on individuals than teams, which is different from most dual meets, but Oregon State still hopes to have overall team success. Zaleski added, quote, "The Invitational is kind of a good thing. Just let you see a lot of your competition in your weight class. There's a lot of ranked guys out there that let you see where you're at individually at this early point in the season," end quote. Oregon State will travel to Cal State Bakersfield on Friday, December 10th, and will compete with Cal Poly the following day.
Oregon State University was visited by Alfonso Rivera, the chief hydrogeologist of Geological Survey of Canada, for Water Resources Research Seminar yesterday afternoon. According to Todd Jarvis, Associate Director of the Geosciences Department, Rivera's talk focused on an international effort to map aquifers shared between countries. Rivera focused on aquifers shared between the United States and Canada, also addressing aquifers between the United States and Mexico. Rivera said his experience in hydrogeology was a perfect fit for dealing with the transboundary management. The nature of discussing the other individuals at the international level was also interested in him. In 2001, UNESCO started more exchange between states of information about the aquifers they shared in order to map where the transboundary aquifers were in the world. Workshops in the Americas identified 73 transboundary aquifers, with 21 in North America. The geology of the United States and Canada in explaining the shared aquifers, Rivera said, quote, doesn't stop because there's a boundary, end quote. Groundwater use, however, does change on different sides of the state boundaries. The U.S. groundwater use is much greater than Canada's per year. Integrated water resource management takes only into concern not only matters of the physical aquifer, but also political, economic, and other human considerations as that relate to sustainability. Mary Santelman, professor of geoscience about the seminar, had this to say about the event, quote, we offer it for our policy and management program, but also for civil engineering, end quote. Water issues are indisciplinary where science and policy connect, and so the seminar series draws a large audience from many areas of study. I don't know if you guys have been outside today. It's pretty cold though, but we're going to get a good weather update here from Cassidy Gilroy. Back to you, Cassidy.
Good evening, Beavers. My name is Cassidy, and I'll be bringing you a forecast tonight. On Friday, we have rain coming in with a high of 42 and low of 31. And on Saturday, it should continue
freezing
again with a high of 40 and a low of 27. On Sunday, the sun peaks out just a bit, but the sky will still be overcast with a high of 41 and a low of 35. And on Monday, the rain returns yet again with a high of 44 and a low of 39. And again on Tuesday, a high of 46 and a low of 41. So be sure to pack in those heavy jackets and drive safely on those roads. Thank you, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Cassidy. Many OSU students are looking forward to the winter season and to the opportunity to head off to the ski resorts. The Daily Barometer reports that Oregon has a total of 12 ski areas, including but not limited to Mount Hood Meadows, Timberline, and Mount Bachelor. The high prices of lift tickets are difficult for many students to afford. One student, Tucker Doyle, a junior in zoology, explained his method of saving by saying, quote, I buy my season pass in October so it's cheaper. I usually find a ride into Portland, and from there I take the Grease bus to Meadows. It's only $15 round trip, end quote. To save money, students often carpool or try to purchase season passes in advance if they plan to visit a resort multiple times during the ski season. We're going to take our first short break of the evening, but when we return, we will have your national stories right here on the Beaver News. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it.
Pants. I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. Do they go on
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bagging lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Hair loss. Now this rash on my face, what's going on?
For answers, ask your doctor the right question.
Could I have lupus?
Welcome back to the Beaver News, live on KBVR. 4 students were dismissed from Florida A&M University related to the death of 26-year-old drum major Robert Champion. It has been determined that the hazing was involved in the death, and CNN is reporting that the family plans to sue the school to get answers. Florida law states that any death that occurs as the result of hazing is a third-degree felony. 30 students have also been dismissed from the band. President James H. Ammons suspended all band performances after the death, and FAMU also moved to fire the longtime band director, Julian E. White. White has hired an attorney to fight back and explain the emotions involved in telling the victim's parents about the death of their son as, quote, that was extremely difficult for me. I wish that this could have been avoided. I took the necessary steps that this tragedy could have been avoided." End quote. It is not clear at this time whether it was White or others who are at fault for the tragic hazing incident.
Powerful winds continue to batter Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and other southwestern U.S. states, downing trees, delaying flights, and leaving hundreds of thousands without power. Wind gusts stronger than 140 miles an hour, which would be equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane, have been measured in the Sierra Crest mountain ridge, according to the National Weather Service. CNN is reporting that the lower-lying areas also having been hit hard by Santa Ana winds, with 80-mile-per-hour gusts expected in Southern California. The National Weather Service has issued high wind warnings, which go into effect when there are sustained winds forecasts of 40 miles per hour or stronger gusts of 58 miles per hour or stronger for large stretches of southwestern and eastern California, as well as much of Nevada and parts of Utah. The wind advisories are in effect for much of the rest of those three states.
A small plane crashed into a parked aircraft at Boeing Field located in Seattle, Washington, Wednesday night, reports CNN. A fire was sparked on the east side of the airfield caused by the incident but was quickly put out. The parked aircraft was unoccupied and the small plane held two people, a flight instructor in her 30s and a student in his 20s. Both were taken to a local hospital with cuts and scratches.
Apple, and more accurately Siri, have come under fire recently from American Civil Liberties Union after the phone application was unable to find abortion clinics or any other information regarding the morning after pill. CNN reports that the ACLU filed an online petition asking that emails be sent to Apple questioning why Siri can't find places to purchase Viagra, but not contraceptives or abortion care. In a blog post yesterday, the ACLU had this to say about the matter, quote, "Although it isn't clear that Apple is intentionally trying to promote anti-choice agenda, it is distressing that Siri can't point you to Viagra, but not the pill, or help you find an escort, but not an abortion clinic," end quote. Apple is denying any intentional censoring of the information, saying, quote, "These are not intentional omissions meant to offend anyone. It simply means that we bring Siri from beta to a final product. We find places where we can do better. Will be coming in weeks," end quote. For small business listings such as abortion clinics, Siri uses Yelp. She searches Google for information that would be contained in standard web searches. Reporter Brittany Greenfield caught up with some OSU students to talk about upcoming finals and their winter break plans in her weekly questions in the Quad segment. Brittany, what you got for us?
Hey guys, it's Brittany Greenfield with your last questions on the Quad for fall term, bringing you your Q&A. So what are your guys' names?
I'm Courtney.
Kristen.
And do you have any plans for winter break?
I'm going to Hawaii, so I'm super excited, yeah.
Is it a family vacation?
Yeah, it is. We haven't been there before, so it's a little family trip.
What island are you going to?
Maui, yeah.
And you? I'm just going back to my home in Portland.
Fun. Do you guys remember when you stopped believing in Santa Claus?
Oh, man. Probably third grade. I'd say it would be a good...
Yeah, probably around there.
Yeah.
But you did believe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My parents still do stockings and stuff and say it's from Santa, but, you know, we know.
What are your guys' names?
I'm Jasmine.
I'm Chelsea.
Are you guys in the middle of finals, or do you have most of your finals next week?
We have a final tomorrow, and then all of the other ones are next week.
Do you guys remember when you stopped believing in Santa Claus?
Oh. No.
Did you ever believe in Santa Claus?
Yes. But then I saw my mom wrote me a card on a card that we have at home, you know how you buy those box full of cards that are all the same and they're blank, and she wrote in capital letters from Santa Claus, and I was like, "That's your writing. That's you. Why did you have to write it in capital letters? Santa Claus is writing capital letters." And she's like, "Dang it!" And that's when
And she told you then?
Yeah. And I was just like, "Oh, you suck."
In 5th grade, when I found the wrapping paper that Santa wrapped my gifts in the basement. Yeah.
I put together one of her bikes from Santa. So.
Believing in Santa Claus?
I think I was like 10 or 11.
Was there any story that went to it, or?
Well, I saw my dad and my grandpa loading up my four-wheeler that I got for Christmas that year that was supposedly from Santa Claus. Oh. And so
Put the pieces together. This has been Brittany with Questions on the Quad. Good luck on your finals and have an awesome break.
Thank you, Brittany. A Utah hunter is currently healing after suffering a gunshot wound caused by a dog. CNN is reporting that hospital crews had to extract 27 pellets of birdshot from the man. The incident occurred in the Great Salt Lake near a bird refuge outside Brigham City. The 12-gauge shotgun was laid across the bow of the boat. Box Elder County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Kevin Potter explained the incident as, quote, "The dog got excited, was jumping around inside the boat, and then it jumped on the gun. It went off, shooting the man in the buttocks." End quote. It is still unclear how the dog managed to make the gun discharge, and it is also unclear whether or not the safety was on. We are now headed into our final break of the evening. We'll have your remaining stories, including information on an American kidnapped in Pakistan. Welcome back to the Beaver News, live on Channel 26. Afghani President Hamid Karzai has recently ordered the release of Gulnaz, an Afghan woman who was raped by a relative. Gulnaz was sentenced to 12 years in prison for adultery after reporting that her cousin's husband had raped her 2 years ago. CNN reports that Gulnaz is raising her daughter in jail and has previously agreed to marry her attacker so she could be released and her daughter could be legitimized. At this point, marriage is not a condition of her release, and she does not want to marry her attacker. Gulnaz will be taken to a safe, undisclosed location after she is freed. She neglected to report her rape quickly enough and was further punished by having to serve more time in prison for that offense.
Further punished? That's crazy. Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri has claimed responsibility for the capture in August of 70-year-old American citizen in Pakistan. CNN reports that the Al-Qaeda leader also listed demands that needed to be met before he would release Warren Weinstein. The demands include ending the airstrikes in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen. He also added that Muslim prisoners, including Abu Musab al-Sururi, the blind sheikh, Omar Abdul Rahman, Ramzi Yusuf, Saeed Nozir, and the family of Osama bin Laden must be released. Weinstein was abducted August 13th when gunmen posing as neighbors offering food pistol-whipped him and his driver and was tied up by his guards, embassy and Pakistani officials said. Weinstein works for J.E. Austin Associates Incorporated, a U.S. counseling firm based in Arlington, Virginia, a Pakistani official said. He is a world-renowned development expert with 25 years of experience, according to the company's website. The site says that he's been heading of what the company described as a Pakistan Initiative for Strategic Development and Competitiveness.
A gunman attacked and sprayed an Afghan family with acid in their home today after the father rejected a man's bid to marry his 18-year-old daughter. The gunman broke in and attacked the five members of the family, including all three of the daughters. CNN is reporting that all five were in need of medical treatment, with the teenage girl in intensive condition and her father still in the hospital. A month ago, the girl turned down another gunman and instead decided to become engaged to a relative. Nadera Jia, head of women's affairs in the province, explained the incident as, quote, "A few nights back, a group of armed men poured acid over her, on her two younger sisters, and her parents after beating up her father," end quote. A search is underway to find the attackers.
The Arab League and other world powers boosted pressure on the Bashar al-Assad regime to end its nearly 9-month-long crackdown on demonstrators, a relentless push against mostly peaceful citizen protest that has now claimed at least 4,000 deaths. Nabil el-Arabi, the Secretary General of the Arab League, said the Syrian regime can, quote, avoid the dangers of the foreign intervention, end quote, if it agrees to the Arab League plan to defuse the grinding conflict. He said the Syrian government hasn't accepted the League plan to send the observers into the country to monitor the response to civil unrest. But he said the government has a chance to overcome the crisis by agreeing to the idea. CNN reports that earlier this week, foreign ministers from 19 Arab League countries voted to slap economic sanctions on the Syrian regime, including cutting ties with the nation's central bank. The number of deaths has reached at least 4,000 since the crackdown began mid-March, and could be much higher. The U.S. Treasury sanctioned 2 high-ranking Syrians and 2 government-controlled entities on Thursday for their role in the crackdown.
In a rural village in northern India, one tax office had a strange event to start off their week. An angry snake charmer walked into their office and let several dozen snakes, including 4 cobras, loose in the office because he was upset about a land deal that had not gone through. One worker, Ramska Sharma, reported the incident as, quote, total chaos. Workers jumped up onto their desks to avoid the snakes as they rode into a striking position, reports CNN. Sharma added that, quote, snakes started climbing up the tables and chairs. Hundreds of people gathered outside the room, some of them with sticks in their hands, shouting that the snakes should be killed, end quote. The snakes were eventually captured by experts and no one was hurt.
The release of results in the first round of voting from Egypt's historic election are being postponed, the country's military rulers announced today. The announcement will come Friday or Saturday, said Amir Amim, spokesman for the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. 2 Islamist parties, the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Noor Salafi, have claimed a lead in the ballot counting, but officials are tight-lipped about any results. The first voting since the fall of President Hosni Mubarak took place Monday. Tuesday was the first time in a multi-step process to pick members of the lower house of parliament. This week marked the first time for some Egyptians, young and old, had ever cast ballots after 3 decades of rule under Mubarak, who was ousted in February after weeks of protests. Some voters and human rights activists expressed hope that their votes would actually count for the first time, though some boycotted the elections, saying they don't trust that the voting would be fair or free. Well, folks, that's all the news we have for you tonight, and the rest of the term, unfortunately. We hope to see you back here next term at 7 p.m. This is also a goodbye to Max Newfield, the show's producer for this term. Good luck in English, Max. But as always, have fun, be safe, make good choices. Good night, Corvallis.